Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulullah. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear brothers and sisters, and welcome to another episode of one of the best courses, inshallah, that you will ever take. And that is Defense Against Disaster. One of the best courses that will be beneficial for you to defend your faith against those who attack Islam, against the most common misconceptions that people have against Islam, the most common attacks that you'll find in social media, on websites, online, and so on. Protect yourself from the doubts, the seed of doubts that might be so detrimental to your iman, to your faith. In the previous episode, we talked about wife beating, whether it's allowed in Islam or not. So make sure you go back to the previous episodes. I don't want to review it now because there's been a lot that was said. We did about 2 episodes on this, and we've clearly, categorically refuted the allegation and gave the correct answer, inshallah, gave examples, and there's no leg to stand upon. Today, I wanted to start by turning the tables a bit to answer the common misconception of honor killings. Okay? Muslims are accused of honor killings. Now you open the news, on media, you find people saying, see, Muslims kill their daughters, kill their sons. For example, if they find a daughter dating some man, or that they've gone out of the culture, sometimes they married someone else, they find that they've disobeyed something, they didn't wear hijab or something. And you find that these things happen. Do they happen? Yes, they happen. Are these things Islamic? No, they're not. They are jahiliyyah, meaning ignorant, cultural practices where someone believes that they can take justice into their own hands and that they can be the judge, jury, and executioner and take matters and physically harm someone or kill someone. This is not Islamic. No one has the right to take in their hands. And that's why one of the Sahaba came to the Prophet and said, "O Messenger of Allah, if I find my wife with so-and-so and I catch them and I see them and I kill them, what will you do?" And they said, "We will kill you." Because you don't have the right to do that. You don't have the right to do that. But I can, he said, "I will take my sword and No. See, Islam does not allow you to do that. There's no vigilante justice like that. There's a system. There's rules. There's regulations. Yes, there's punishments. There's hudud. No doubt. No one denies that. But no one jumps the horse. No one is allowed to take matters into their own hands. This is what's causing so many problems today in our society. In the ummah, this is what's causing so many misunderstandings. That's what's the cause of the news, most of the news reports, because people think that they can take justice into their own hands. So, what is honor killings? Let's look. According to a 2008 report from the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene titled Intimate Partner Violence Against Women in New York, it reveals that between 2003 and 2005, nearly half of all women murdered were victims of their partners. This is very important. So, we need to pay attention here. We as Muslims, we condemn both Muslims and non-Muslims who do that. Okay, we as Muslims make official condemnations of people who believe that they can do that. Who are you to judge what is honorable and what's not honorable? Who are you to take matters into your own hands? Whatever, and whoever he might be. Muslim, non-Muslim, African, Indian, American, Canadian, whatever you are. You are slandering someone. You are attacking their persona and their character, their honor. See, Islam puts rules and regulations. So actually, to cut it very short, honor killings are unacceptable in Islam and not approved against Islam. It is totally haram, and no one is allowed to do. You will find a lot of times that in the media, a girl was killed by her father because she was not wearing hijab. And they love to take it and this is the Islamic practice and the Muslim practice and Islam does this. You just ask the people, where? Show to me where does Islam say that? And you find that they don't have any proof. But we fall short and we fall prey to these kind of accusations. Again, the media will say that the husband caught his wife with someone and he killed her. Again, un-Islamic. Is it right what she did? No, very wrong. And Islam has a punishment for that. But is it correct what he did? No, wrong. And Islam has also a punishment for that. So you see, there's no such thing. There's no room for these type of barbaric events and behavior in Islam. No such thing. So those who say that, they're totally categorically refuted. Let us move to another point here when it comes to, again, women's rights. We're still under that umbrella because it's such a vast topic and so many issues around it. Now this one is very, very sensitive because this deals with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the best amongst you are the best of their wives. We already quoted the hadith. But now the accusation comes, and this hadith is an authentic hadith, that, pay attention, the Prophet ﷺ himself hit Aisha radiallahu anha. Actually, they'll say beat. So let us read, and I want you to think about this, and I want you to train. So he says, when it was my turn for Allah's Messenger ﷺ to spend the night with me, he turned aside, put on his mantle and took off his shoes and placed them near his feet and spread the corner of his shawl on his bed and then laid down till he thought that I had gone to sleep. He took a hold of his mantle slowly and put on the shoes slowly and opened the door and went out. Then he closed it lightly. So the Prophet ﷺ was with Aisha radiallahu anha. It was their night. He went outside. He thought she's sleeping. She said, I covered my head, put on my veil and tightened my waist wrapper, and then went out to follow his steps till they reached Al-Baqi, Jannatul Baqi, which is in Medina, which is a graveyard where a lot of the Sahaba and the martyrs were buried. Very important thing here to note from the hadith that Aisha radiallahu anha covered her hair, put hijab on, put proper hijab before going outside, even though there's no lights. So he reached Jannatul Baqi, and so did Aisha radiallahu anha. And she said that he stood there and he stood for a long time. He then lifted his hands 3 times. He lifted his hands 3 times. He made dua. He went to make dua for those people who died. Look how beautiful this is. He then returned, and also I returned, she says, Aisha radiallahu anha. He hastened his steps, and I also hastened my steps. He ran, and I too ran. So the Prophet ﷺ, he found that he realized that someone was following him. Aisha radiallahu anha had doubts. She was, what's he doing? Why is he leaving? She said, he ran and I too ran. He came to the house and I also came to the house. I, however, preceded him and entered the house. And as I lay down in the bed, he, the Prophet ﷺ, entered the house and said, why is it, O Aisha, that you are out of breath? I said, there's nothing. So she was like, subhanAllah, and she didn't want to tell him. He said, tell me, or the subtle and the aware, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will inform me. Then Aisha radiallahu anha said, O Messenger of Allah, may my father and my mother be ransomed for you. And then I told him the whole story. He said, was it the darkness of the shadow that I saw in front of me? So she said, yes. So the Prophet ﷺ realized that Aisha radiallahu anha had a doubt. What would be the doubt? He thought, whoa, the Prophet ﷺ, it's my turn, my night, he's going somewhere. So she wanted to follow him. This is the most important part. The most important part. She said, he struck me on my chest, which caused me pain. So the accusation is, you see, the Prophet ﷺ hit his wife. He beat his wife. How bad he was. Look at this. He's the example that you have. Look at that. They'll quote, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. There was in the Prophet of Allah a great example. You see, he's the one who beat his wife, and you beat your wives, and all these things, and you abuse women, and so on. And the Muslims get shocked. They're like, no, is this hadith authentic? So let us put what we've learned to test. Number one, is it authentic? Where is it? Yes, it is authentic. Do we understand it correctly? Everything okay? Yes, it's clear. So how do we understand it? See, the explanation here now is not in the same hadith. It's based back to one of our other techniques, counter techniques, where we have to put different ahadith in the same place together now, on the same topic, to understand what the meaning, to get the full understanding. And see how dangerous it is for someone to jump to a conclusion and make a ruling based on this. Because from this, if you look at it, it says, oh, the Prophet hit his wife. But the case is not. What is the answer? We said again, we're going to take the hadith, put them together to understand what happened, the context. We're going to do that, inshallah, after the break.
Stories of glories, in the darkest dilemma of the 60s, under the cunning, incessant insults of evangelical missionaries, emerged a self-made da'i, Didat, a stalwart of dawah, infused a stubborn and burning flame of desire to retaliate, to counteract the false propaganda. An icon. From a sixth grader to a monumental achiever, set dawah on a different level. Drove many to be ambassadors of Islam. He is Sheikh Ahmed Didat, world-renowned orator on Islam and comparative religion. Peace TV presents over 100 million viewers at one of the largest peace conferences in the world, addressing a sea of spellbound spectators. Over 30 world-renowned orators on Islam with credentials impeccable.
The truth of Islam.
Deen is your way of life.
It is our duty, our obligation.
By following the Quran and Sunnah,
we will give the message to one and all.
With articulation exquisite.
Read the book of Allah.
Islam is the easy way. It's the simple way.
Remind each other.
The Muslim is not a source of harm for other people.
Collaborate with the people for good.
This is the call of Islam.
With the mission of spreading the truth of Islam.
Do what you can to spread the word of Islam.
Wherever we are,
Live like Muslims.
Use your power.
Allah is saying, why do you need anything else? This Quran is self-sufficient.
only book on the face of the globe, the Quran. How a human being should lead his life is given in this instruction manual, the glorious Quran.
For peace to prevail on earth in Peacemakers. Next on Peace TV.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back. Before the break, we're talking about the very sensitive attack that these missionaries sometimes put against Islam. This is something that a lot of people do not discuss. It's something that a lot of Muslims don't know. The accusation that did the Prophet ﷺ ever hit Aisha radiallahu anha. And we read the hadith before where the Prophet ﷺ went to Jannatul Baqi at night when it was Aisha's turn. She was sleeping. He thought that she was sleeping. However, she followed him. He went there. He prayed for the martyrs. He prayed for the Muslims. Then he realized that someone's following him. So he hastened back home. She did, Aisha radiallahu anha. She entered before him, but she was out of breath. And the Prophet ﷺ asked her, what do you do? She didn't want to say first, but then he said, Allah will inform me. He knew exactly. And Aisha explained, and then he struck her chest, which caused her pain, it seems. So the non-Muslims, the people are accusing the Prophet ﷺ, the best of creation, that he beat his wife. Okay, he skipped the steps. He didn't even abide by the 1, 2, 3. And we are refuting that. That's not the case. We said, based on the counter techniques that we've learned in some of the previous episodes, we said that to understand something, you cannot single it out. You need to understand some of the other hadith on the topic. Is there anything else that will allow us to understand this? And we'll find that there is. So, for example, let us understand what happened. Did the Prophet ﷺ actually hurt or abuse Aisha? Let us read the following two hadith to understand. Ubay said, there occurred in my mind a sort of a denial which did not occur even during the days of ignorance. When the Prophet ﷺ saw how I was affected by the wrong idea, he struck my chest. He says, I broke onto a sweat and felt as if I were looking at Allah in fear. This is a hadith in Muslim. Why are we saying this hadith? Because you see, the Prophet ﷺ hit him. Did he abuse him? Did he beat him? No. He hit him on his chest. The same thing that he did to Aisha radiallahu anha. Same thing. Let's read another hadith. So we understand why in the end. When we put it all together, we understand why. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam hit the chest of Umar bin Khattab with his hand 3 times when he embraced Islam and said, "O Allah, remove the malice from his heart and replace it with faith." It's authentic hadith in Al-Hakim. So actually he did that many times to different Sahaba and to Aisha radiallahu anha. What is it? You think about it. What is it? It was to remove doubts from the heart. There was malice or something, wrong thoughts in the heart. It's not that he beat them. It's not that he abused them. It was a touch, a strike on the chest. The Prophet ﷺ would make dua for them, as he did for Ubay. What happened to Aisha radiallahu anha? She had a doubt in the heart. Where did the Prophet ﷺ go at night? Why did she go and follow? She was a human being. And that's why when the Prophet ﷺ came, he did not want his wife to have that doubt and remove that from her. And that's why he did that practice of hitting. He did not beat her. He did not abuse her. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Prophet ﷺ, Aisha radiallahu anha herself narrates in hadith that Prophet ﷺ never hit anyone. He never hit a servant, never hit a woman, never hit a child. The only time he ever fought was in a battle when the rights, the law of Allah would be violated. So we hope that that is very, very clear. Okay, the hadith that we just quoted, Aisha radiallahu anha said that the Messenger of Allah, again, neither hit a woman nor a servant, but only in the case he had been fighting in the cause of Allah. And this is the hadith narrated by Imam Muslim. I want to just, because we said in this hadith that except in the fighting in the cause of Allah, to refute another misconception. That the Prophet ﷺ was some kind of a warmonger, because this is related. Okay? We said that he only hit someone in war. There's 2 refutations here. Number 1, refuting Muslims who say that the Prophet ﷺ, he always just forgave everyone and never did anything, and he was he never touched anyone. Okay, true. But he fought. And we know that the Prophet ﷺ was in war. So people need to understand, we don't want to change the reality. At the same time, the Prophet ﷺ was not like Alexander the Great or some of the leaders who enjoyed fighting. And so he was a prophet of Allah. He was the leader of the state. He was brave. He fought in wars, but he did not enjoy to fight and kill or anything like that. No. Actually, the only person that the Prophet ﷺ actually engaged in war and struck him and the person died was one person from the Quraysh from before. And the person said, "I will kill you, Muhammad." And then the Prophet ﷺ said, "No, indeed, I will kill you." And this person was charging him in one of the battles, and he had the spear in his hand. And the Sahaba said, "No, let me fight him, O Messenger." He said, "No, this is between me and him." And he struck him with the spear, and that person later died from his wounds. Prophet ﷺ was brave, but he was not the person who enjoyed to kill or fight or anything like that. He was a person who wanted people to get the message. His main role was to spread the message of Islam. But he was brave, and he fought in battles, no doubt about it. No doubt that he was in the front line. No doubt. Not like cowards you'll see in other societies and other history events where people are running. Actually, subhanAllah, in one of the battles when so many people dispersed from him, he was the one by himself riding his ride and saying, I am the son of Abdullah and I am the Prophet of Allah. And the enemies are all around him and they're attacking him. Prophet ﷺ was brave. He was not, someone who would run away from the battlefield. Let us move now to respond to the next point, which is again still tied to gender relationships and women specifically, and that is the issue of polygamy. Polygamy is what? Or polygyny is when a man marries more than one woman. The opposite, when a woman marries more than one man or has more than one partner, is polyandry. That is the correct term. But the accusation is of polygamy. Oh, that this is something unfair. That Islam allows a man to marry up to 4 wives. And they say, why can't women do that? This is not fair. This is not good. Because first and foremost, the problem starts with that the people who are putting this attack forth, that they're thinking from a sexual point of view. Oh, look at men, they have, this ability, they have this, they're favored in here again. But see, they never think from the responsibility point of view, that you have to take care of 4 families. No doubt about it that the sexual relationship is important, the relationship, the intercourse, and this is something, of course, that human beings is something natural. But you see, the way people think about it is just from this point. Why? Because we're conditioned. We live in a society that everything has to deal with this. So anything comes through us is through these specs. That's all we see. It's just some kind of, gratification, sexual gratification. Anything that comes through, we have to judge it according to that. And this is wrong. And then, of course, we'll say, oh, how can women not do that? Why can it be like that? The reality is that first and foremost, as we said, women are not like men. Men are like women. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed. Is this something new that Islam has brought? Right? Because Christians, Jews will also scream and say, this is not allowed, this is not allowed. Well, look at how many Christian sects within America. Go to Utah and see how many Christians practice polygamy, Mormons. Because they know it's part of Christianity. Jewish people, how many of them? Because they know it's part of Judaism. But again, going back to that, people trying to change the rules of God. And then they try to attack you. They themselves don't follow it, but they believe that they're good, believers. And then they'll try to point to you. Again, double standards. How many prophets had more than one wife? Do they consider those prophets as wrong, or that they're not prophets? Or the fact that they're polygamists, it disqualifies them from being prophets, from the prophethood? No. That's not what happens. But you see, they have a problem with Islam, with Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Because the problem is inside, actually. So why do men marry more than one woman? This is what they're allowed to. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, Allah says that this is what is allowed. If they can keep justice, it's something very important. That every woman gets her rights, they keep justice, that they're not oppressed, that they're not wronged. But if they cannot do that, then they have to stick to one. Islam is putting the limitation. Islam is giving the qualification. You can do this if this. If you cannot, then stick to one. Because this is more closer to justice. The person who have 2 wives on the Day of Judgment, and he has leaned towards one more than the other one, he'll come crooked on the Day of Judgment, and you'll be punished. So you see, it's an issue of responsibility. Why do we always look at it as an issue of privilege? How difficult it is to raise a family. See, the marriage is about bringing a family together. It's about taking care of a family. It's about raising children. It's about taking care of a woman. The woman living with the man. Not just about the intercourse. Why do people always think about that? Everything has to do just always intercourse, just sex, everything has to. People need to think from a social point of view, from a moral point of view. What is the institution of marriage for? To protect oneself, the chastity, to raise children, to be the building block of society, to help each other, to provide responsibility. It's not just about that, what people think. That is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed men to marry more than one wife, up to 4. And inshallah, we're going to continue on the next episode discussing polygamy. So make sure that you stay tuned on Peace TV. Follow up with us, with your host, Gabriel Al Romaani. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.